Welcome back to Reading with Mo. Today I wanted to share with you guys all the books that are coming out in the month of February that I'm interested in getting to. There's quite a few, about 20 of them. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with all my bookish content I have coming out. In the next few days, my January wrap up should be coming out, and I have a lot of thoughts about what I read in January that I can't wait to share with you guys, and a lot of thoughts about some 2026 releases so far. So stay tuned for that. But back to this video, let's go ahead and talk about the books that are coming out in February. I don't want to waste a lot of time, so we can get straight into the books. Some of these books I'm lucky enough to have arcs of, either physical copies or from NetGalley, and disclosure, like I'm not getting paid to talk about, post, or mention any of these books to you guys. All of these sounded interesting to me, so I wanted to share them with you and put them on your radar as well. First up, we have Clutch by Emily Nemens. This book is on my TBR for sure for February because I have a physical arc of this book. And in this book, it's following a group of, I believe it was 5 different women. Yes, it's 5 different women who all befriend each other while they're in college, and we see them decades later, how their friendship's gone, different challenges and things that they've gone through. As far as a novel about friendship goes, this one sounds very interesting. Next, we have Greedy by Kali Kazumi. This book takes place in Japan. It's a dark thriller set in remote Japan where a desperate gambling addict masquerades as a private chef to an exclusive or reclusive billionaire with deadly taste. This author previously wrote and published Claire Darling. I read that one when it came out back in 2025, and I remember I gave that one a 4-star rating, and I definitely am interested to see how Callie does in this follow-up novel with this premise that sounds very interesting. I'm lucky enough to have an arc from NetGalley, so I'm going to try and get to that one this month, as well as the next one I'm going to share with you guys, which is The Shape of Dreams by April Reynolds. This book is following a set of a trio of women in East Harlem, and they come together in friendship and tragedy to organize against the systems that hold them down. This book sounds like it's going to be a fan for those who enjoy reading historical fiction books, which I definitely do. This book takes place in the mid-80s, and it starts off with our main character, Twin Johnson. She discovers the body of Anita's boy, Tyrone, on the sidewalk. She ends up calling the police, and that sets in motion a cycle of events that end up affecting their entire community. Next, we have This Book Made Me Think of You by Libby Page. I am hesitant a little bit with this book because I don't really read a lot of contemporary novels of this type that are more so in like the women's like contemporary chick lit book club vibes genre, but I always am very down to try a book that is about books, so that's what drew me into wanting to check this book out. It's also giving me a little bit of like P.S. I Love You vibes. It says 12 stories, 12 months, one chance to heal her heart. Our main character, Tilly, she receives a call saying that there's a birthday gift from her fiance waiting for her at her local bookshop. And it couldn't come as more of a shock because she can't remember the last time she read for pleasure, and also her fiance passed away 5 months ago. He's picked out 12 books for her, one for each month, to help her in this next year of navigating her life without him. Next, we have And the Ancestors Sing by Radha Lynn Shada. This sounds like a book for those who love multi-generational family sagas, which is definitely me. And in this one, it takes place in China. It's set against the backdrop of post-cultural revolution China in 1978. Our main character starts off with, she's bartered her way into marriage for 2 cartons of cigarettes and a handful of eggs. She is with her husband living in this unfamiliar village when everything's upended and they become migrants, and then we follow different like descendants, it seems like. If you are a fan of Pachinko or The Island of Sea Women, I've heard that this is a book that you would enjoy. I haven't read The Island of Sea Women yet, it's on my TBR, but I really enjoyed Pachinko. Next up, we have probably the only romantasy that you're going to see featured in this video, and potentially the start of a new series, and that is Songbird of the Sorrows, the first in the midst of the Imperious series by Brady Otto. I'm definitely going to wait for some reviews of this book, more reviews of this book to be out before I decide if I'm going to pick it up or not, but I am going to give this one a try. I think this one was definitely a cover interest for me. I think it's really pretty, but also so far early reviews seem to be positive. In this book, we're following an outcast princess who turns spy and embarks on a mission to infiltrate a rival kingdom. But the secrets she uncovers force her to decide whether to follow orders or obey them. Next up, we have a debut thriller that sounds really fun, and it's called The Exes by Leodora Darlington. In this book, we're following a woman whose seemingly perfect romantic life is on the verge of collapse as she uncovers a hidden history surfacing dark secrets have deadly consequences. Our main character has gone through a lot of exes and she thinks the right one has finally come along, and maybe he's the one for her, and maybe he won't wind up dead, but the harder Natalie tries to be a normal wife, the more world upending truths are brought to her door, leaving her unsure of who she really is and leaving her to question whether there's a monster within her or whether there's a villain toying with her from the outside. Next, we have Simple Heart by Sho Hei-jin. This is a book in translation. The translator is Jamie Chang. And this one is compared to Past Lives. It's about a Korean writer's pregnancy that raises questions about her own childhood abandonment. I'm character Nana. She's a Korean playwright and she was adopted as a child by a French couple. But before then, she was just a girl growing up in a Korean orphanage. And then before that, she was an infant abandoned on the railway tracks of a train station in Seoul. She's pregnant with the child of her ex-boyfriend, and she receives a request from a Korean filmmaker who wants to make a documentary about her life. This leads her on a journey to figure out a lot of things and brings things that she didn't really remember up. It sounds very interesting. I'm very excited to get to this one. Next up, we have a book that sounds kind of wild, and that is For Human Use by Sarah G. Pierce. This book is described as being genre bending in that it falls in like horror, romance, science fiction, all types of categories. It's described as saying pretty much modern dating is dead. Finding a human connection online is impossible, and now there's a thing called Live, a dating app that matches people with dead bodies. Somehow it's taken the world by storm. And there's millions of users who are convinced that life with a corpse presents a better alternative to conventional relationships. This debut, I feel like, is going to be one that we see around a lot this year. If you have heard of the imprint Well Read Black Girls, they are releasing another book in their imprint, and that is I Hope You Find What You're Looking For by Brzat Mzabi. I hope I'm saying that right, but it's probably terribly wrong. I'll have the correct author's name here with the cover. And this is the author's debut, and it's looking at the lives of 3 women on the eve of the Eritrean independence. And it takes place at the start in 1991. Eritrea is on the verge of liberation from Ethiopian rule, and in Washington, D.C., there's a tight-knit Eritrean community where change is in the air. We are following 13-year-old Lydia, who her and her family are grappling with what peace after decades of war might mean for their future, just as they welcome a new relative into their Baraket, a cousin newly arrived from Ethiopia to attend medical school, who encourages Lydia to confront a barrage of new ideas for the first time. Meanwhile, her mother Elsa, who's a formal rebel fighter, and the family matriarch contends with regrets and secrets long buried, secrets that the emboldened Lydia is determined to uncover. Next, we have a nonfiction book, and that is Rebel of the Regency, the scandalous saga of Caroline of Brunswick, Britain's queen without a crown. This is by Anne Foster. This book is a Regency-era nonfiction book following our main character, Caroline of Brunswick, who she was described as a wild child growing up, and her parents married her off to George Augustus Frederick, Prince of Wales, who was the eldest son of George III and Queen Charlotte. Yes, if you watch Bridgerton, that Queen Charlotte. She always stayed true to herself, and she stepped in her role of queen-to-be without compromising her character, showing off her affinity for fashion, eccentric hobbies, and ultimately her infallible spirit, despite being ostracized as an outsider by her in-laws. Yet, despite her status as a revolutionary heroine, Caroline's name faded away following her death until now. So if you like to read nonfiction books following stories about women that aren't as well known, I think that you'd really enjoy this. I'm definitely looking forward to this one. Next up is one of my most anticipated reads of the year, Sadika Johnson's new book, Keeper of Lost Children, that comes out this month. I've read The House of Eve and Yellow Wife by Sadika Johnson. I'm really looking forward to this one. It's another historical fiction novel. This one's centered around World War II. One woman's vision in post-World War II Germany ties together 3 people in an unexpected way. We are following an occupied Germany Ethel Gathers, who's the proud wife of an American soldier and has a gaggle of mixed-race children following a nun. Just desperate to conceive her own family, she feels compelled to follow them to learn their story. Ozzie Phillips volunteers for the army in 1948, eager to break barriers for Black soldiers. Despite his best efforts, he finds racism he encounters at home in Philadelphia has followed him overseas. He finds solace in the arms of Jelka, a German woman struggling with lack of resources and joy in her destroyed country. And then 1965, there's Sophia Clark, who discovers she's been given an opportunity to integrate a prestigious boarding school in Maryland and leave behind her spiteful parents and the grueling demands. In a chance meeting with one of her classmates, she ends up discovering a secret that upends her world. Next up, we have a Greek mythology historical fiction retelling, and that is The Wandering Queen by Claire Haywood. This book is a retelling of the story of Queen Dido, the legendary founder of Carthage, from the author who also wrote Daughters of Sparta, which is on my TBR. I just haven't gotten to that one yet. When the king of Tyre dies, he decrees that the kingdom will pass equally to both his daughter and son, Alyssa and Pygmalion, but she finds herself easily sidelined by a band of powerful merchants in favor of her more malleable brother. From there, she's forced to forge her own path and goes on an epic journey. Bad Asians by Lillian Lee is a book that's featured in my TBR for February because I also have a physical arc of this book that I would like to read. And this one is following a group of friends. There's 4 friends, and they all went to college or graduated from college into the Great Recession of 2008 and now have to be back home. They end up having this documentary made about them, and it ends up having lasting impact on their lives and their friendships, and not necessarily in a positive way. Next up, we have Where the Wildflowers Grow by Tara Shelton Harris. We're following our main character, Lee, and she is the last of the wilds. As she's on a prison transport bus, I believe it is, she's being taken to prison, and it gets in a car accident and everybody dies except for her. She's looking for a place to hide, and she ends up stumbling on this unexpected sanctuary, which is a flower farm in rural Alabama tucked away from the world. She ends up finding found family there, making connections, but the past isn't so easily buried, and no matter how far she runs, the truth of who she is and the ghosts of the wilds follow. Next up, my definitely most anticipated book of 2026, I'm going to share with you guys, and that is Kin by Tayari Jones. I read An American Marriage by her and really love that book. I've read other books by Tayari Jones since then as well, and I'm very much looking forward to this. As soon as I seen this coming out this year, it was definitely my #1 most anticipated book. I already knew for sure that I'm going to be reading this book, so much so that I didn't even read the synopsis of it, and I kind of don't even want to now, because I don't want to potentially read any spoilers. I just want to go into this book blindly, so I'm going to leave it to you guys to look up the plot on this one, because I just have decided personally I don't want to read it. I'm just going to read the book. Next up is a book that's being recommended to those who love the show The Bear, and that is called The Reservation by Rebecca Kaufman. It explores the loves and labors of an ensemble of more than a dozen restaurant workers as they strive to get perfect meals to table. Every once in a while, I'm in the mood for a book kind of centered around food, and I think that this is definitely going to be the one that I pick up next when I have an urge to read about a book centered around food, or like centered around a restaurant. What happens in this book is it's early in the morning on the day of one of the most important bookings of their restaurant, and they discover that 22 ribeye steak royals have been stolen. This restaurant is the finest restaurant in this Midwestern college town, and they anticipate a large party that's going to honor a very special guest, the best-selling author, a writer of international renown. They do not want their Yelp reviews to tank, and so she doesn't know she's being sabotaged, maybe. None of the restaurant workers are above suspicion. This book is set over a single high-stakes day in the life of a bustling restaurant, and that just sounds very fun. Next, we have Pinky Swear by Danielle Girard. This book is a thriller about a young woman whose surrogate disappears just days before the baby's due date, and the power of mother's love. She ends up embarking on this perilous cross-country hunt for the truth, and she's forced to reconsider a friendship she thought she knew, and some secrets that happened in the past to do with the woman who is the surrogate. And last but not least, we have Where the False Gods Dwell by Denny S. Bryce. I haven't read any other books by Denny S. Bryce, but I have actually a few on my TBR. I want to read Wild Women in the Blues, The Other Princess. I actually have lied. I did read In the Face of the Sun. I read that one back in 2022, and I rated that one a 3-star reading. And since then, Denny has published more books, so I'm interested to see how I feel about these other ones. And so most likely, The next one I'm going to pick up will be this one, Where the False Gods Dwell. This book is inspired by a real life legendary choreographer, Catherine Dunham. It's an expedition into the heart of Caribbean dance culture. It's following the experiences of three very different women who accompany her, hoping to find their destinies, yet find themselves forced to survive a historic event, Chicago, 1935. Othello is an orphaned con artist and needs to escape the city's brutal underworld. Vivian Jean is a wealthy wife, student, and anthropologist who's trying to prove herself personally and professionally. And then we have Zinzi, who's a Jamaican labor union activist determined to bring change to her homeland's plantation system. As deadly Hurricane Jeremy bears down on the island, imperiling the women's mission and their lives, they must form a difficult sisterhood. So there's another historical fiction for you to add to your TBR. There was quite a lot in this video, so I really hope you guys enjoy historical fiction like I do. So those are all the books that I am interested in that are coming out in the month of February. Let me know if you guys are interested in any of these or if there's any that I've forgotten. And also let me know if there's anything I should prioritize. I definitely will take it into consideration as I'm figuring out which ones I'm going to prioritize. It's hard. There's so many good ones coming out this month. It's very difficult. I couldn't narrow the list down any further than what I shared with you guys today. So like I mentioned before, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.